And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Revelation chapter 18, verse 2. Shabbat Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles, elders, bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so Brother Haran coming back at you with another lesson. Lord, will it be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. And just want to go into something real quick that I was meditating on earlier this morning, and I just want to convert it to an epistle. All right, and that is, America is Babylon the Great. Okay, and from time to time, of course, we do emphasize, all right, America being Babylon the Great in terms of biblical prophecy, but you have those who don't want to believe that. And as time is going closer and closer, as the end of America draws nigh, the days are shorter, the days are moving faster, and you're seeing the instability of the geopolitical, world, and also what you're seeing here domestically. People are starting to put two and two together. That the Christian dogma for so long is failing. Okay, and then people are starting to realize or come to the true realization that yes, the men of Great Millstone on down are the true prophets of the Lord, and everything they've been saying is true, 100% correct in regards to biblical prophecy. And one major prophecy, the major prophecy that we're all waiting for, obviously, you take aside the MOTB prophecy, is America's destruction. And we say this with wholeheartedly, and we say this wholeheartedly and with 100% confidence that America, Babylon the Great, will be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction from the Heavenly Father. Okay? The God of the Bible, the God of the Hebrews, the Hebrew Israelites, God, our power, Yahweh, through his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, will destroy America, Babylon the Great. Okay? And all the wickedness that this place has done, you turn around and say, God bless America. No, God curse America. The Most High will destroy America. America will be destroyed. 100% point blank, period. Let's get into this. I asked the chat, okay, how does Revelation 18 depict America's end? And this is what they says. Now, chat is always very interesting because every time you put in information, it's going to give you information back. But if you're not careful, it can mislead you. Okay, you got to corner, like the apostles always say, Apostle Ramlab always used to say that you got to corner chat for it to be honest, right? Now it says here, the short answer, Book of Revelation chapter 18 does not explicitly name America, obviously, right? Just like most scriptures would not name America, but it's coded, right? Nineveh is another code name for America. Assyria is another code name for America, right? What's the other one? Egypt, right? Another code name for America. Okay, of course you got Babylon, all right, which is America. It's not, you don't even need a code name for that, right? America is the land of great confusion. Okay, so you got all these different code names, right? But it says here, any connection between that chapter and the United States is an interpretation, not something the text itself states. Well, because you can't see it, and most Americans don't want to see it, but that's okay. It's not about what you can and cannot see. Just because somebody's blind don't mean it's not going to rain. You know what I'm saying? Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not going to rain, right? Your eyesight, your eyesight or lack thereof does not change reality. You're just a member or a player in the story. That's it. The story doesn't change because of how you feel about it. No. Okay. So yeah, they could say, oh, it's just an interpretation. Yeah. What's the interpretation though? Right? Because they're going to tell you. Let's read. It says, what Revelation 18 actually describes, right? Revelation 18 focuses on the fall of a symbolic city called Babylon the Great, right? Symbolic for who? Symbolic for who, right? It says it portrays a wealthy, powerful economic center deeply tied to global trade, a place associated with luxury, excess, and moral corruption. A dramatic and sudden collapse in 1 hour. Merchants, kings, and traders mourning because their wealth disappears. Imagery of fire, destruction, and total ruin. That's not imagery. That's what John saw. Okay, it's literal. There will be fire, there will be brimstone, there will be destruction that will lead to total ruin of America, Babylon the Great. We keep telling you that. You don't want to listen, but you're going to live it. Okay? The chapter uses vivid poetic language typical of apocalyptic literature, meant to convey theological meaning more than provide a literal geopolitical prediction. Well, guess what? You're getting two. You're going to get the theological meaning, meaning the breakdown, and the breakdown is explaining to you that this is a literal geopolitical place. America, the land of America, all right, will be destroyed. There ain't no two ways about it, man. This place is not going to live on forever. It was never designed to go on forever. All right, today is May 1st, May Day, Illuminati birthday, 1776, 250 years ago, this place was founded. All right, and the agenda to push the so-called New World Order was set in stone. Right? Quite literally, when you go back and you read what they had on the Georgia Guidestones, okay? The Georgia Guidestones. And the Georgia Guidestones is depicted in the movie / book 1984 by George Orwell. Okay? And George Orwell, what did he say? He said in his last days, he had an interview, and then they asked him, "Hey, what were you thinking when you wrote the novel 1984?" And he said, "Oh, if it wasn't for my TB that I was under, and if I wasn't on the medication, it would have been a better novel. But basically, I wrote it kind of like more of a satirical kind of thing."
1984 is, I believe, a quite terrifying masterpiece. So terrifying, in fact, I don't think I should like to read another like it.
I am not absolutely dissatisfied with it. I think it is a good idea, but the execution would have been better if I had not been under the influence of TB when I wrote it.
You once claimed that you have an ability to face unpleasant facts. Is that what you've demonstrated in 1984 by drawing an accurate portrait of the future?
I think that allowing for the book being, after all, a parody, something like 1984 could actually happen. This is the direction the world is going in at the present time. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement. The sex instinct will be eradicated. We shall abolish the orgasm. There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party. But always there will be the intoxication of power. Always, at every moment, there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.
But the reality is, this dude was connected to different levels of masonry. Okay? A lot of these people are insiders. They come out and they tell you what's actually going on. They can't tell you the whole thing because they swear an oath of secrecy. Okay? Those men, they're not going to wear a whole robe and go into some room somewhere, all right, where there's no windows, there's no cameras, there's no nothing, and then they're going to swear a blood oath, and it don't mean nothing. It means everything. That's why they lie all the time. They deny these things because they can lie as long as they don't reveal the secrets. Why do you think Hexeth what I call him? PPBH, right? PPBH is Pete Hexeth's new acronym. Punk Bitch Hexeth. All right. PBBH. All right. That's his new thing. Pete Punk Bitch Hexeth. All right. That's his thing. That's for him, specifically for him, because he's a punk and a bitch, and he's gonna be destroyed too. Okay. He's not a real man. All right. He's not a real man. He's just a little kid who has power, and he's drunk on that power. All right. So continuing, it says here, going back to the point I was making, right? You have all these different Masons, right? Majority, if not all, these so-called public figures that run society, from presidents to prime ministers to governors to mayors and policemen and firefighters, you name it, pastors, right? You name it, they're all part of some type of Masonic lodge or some type of Masonic oath that they've pledged. Okay, so they always work together against everybody else. If you're not part of that group, you're always going to be worked against. All right. It's them against everyone else. Okay. So George Orwell said, if you want to picture the future, he said, imagine a boot stomping on a human being's face forever. That's what he said. And when you go back and you read the Georgia Guidestones, the first thing that they had on there was depopulation, maintaining humanity under 500 million, all right, to keep perpetual balance with nature. And they always emphasize, make space for nature, make way for nature, you know, that kind of thing. King Charles, I think that's, yeah, King Charles, he just gave a speech about the importance of making space for nature. The same nature that niggas like Gil Bates is destroying, they turn around and say we need to preserve nature. What do they mean by that? That's code name for we need to eliminate as many people as possible so we can have the rest of the earth to ourselves. Okay? The natural resources, we can tokenize it, manipulate it, control it, and then run the world how we see fit. Fuck out of here. That's not going to happen. All right. So let's go back to what we got here. Okay. It says here, where the America idea comes from. Some modern interpreters, especially in certain evangelical or prophetic traditions, see parallels between Babylon and the United States because of 1. America's global economic influence. 2. Its role in international trade and culture. 3. Perceived moral or spiritual decline. From that perspective, they argue Revelation 18 could symbolically describe a future collapse of a dominant world power like the US. Okay? But historically and academically, most biblical scholars understand Babylon as 1. A symbolic reference to ancient Rome. That's not true. The dominant empire at the time Revelation was written, right? Because the Lord told John that whatever you're seeing now is and is not and will be. Okay? So that first leg of the Roman Empire, right, was during the time of the apostles, during the time of Yahushua and all that, 2,000 plus years ago. That was the first leg of that dominant world power. And they were dominant back then, just like they are today. So the Lord brought them down, all right, and then resurrected them back. During the time of the Renaissance, they came right back through their so-called reviving of the Greek and Roman culture / texts and so on and so forth. The Greco-Roman way of living. They resurfaced it. They brought it back to life. They reincarnated it, if you will. Okay. So then they came back to life and it took form as America, starting from 1776 all the way till now, 250 years later. Okay. America has been dominating the planet 250 years later, man. Look what's going on around the world. You can take a president, go into a different country, kidnap the president, his woman, or whatever, take their oil, all this extra shit, and ain't nothing gonna be done to you. You can go into a different country, go kill the Ayatollah. That's crazy. You know, do all this extra shit, claiming, oh, they've been terrorizing us for the past 47 years. The same rhetoric over and over and over and again. People are not buying it no more. Why? Because the scriptures tell you in Isaiah 47, stand now with thine enchantments. Okay? The enchantments that goes back to Hollywood. We always bring that up. Okay? The hollow wood. They do the enchantments that goes back to ancient druidic customs, where they use the hollow wood to perform enchantments and magic tricks upon the minds of the people. So it's the same thing today. Media, going back to the goddess of illusion. Okay? So Hollywood, the hollow wood, was their ways of using to to create enchantments / magic. Okay? Using words. They speak to you, like Bill Cooper said. They'll speak to you, right? They talk to you. They talk very clearly. You just don't understand it because you don't understand the importance of symbols, the importance of language, the vibrations that all these things carry. Why do you think the Lord scattered the nations going back to the time of Genesis? He scattered them. He put different languages, confuse the fuck out of them, man. Because without that ability to speak the same language, you cannot come together as a people. Okay? Language barrier is a huge deterrent of coming together. If you're speaking a different language than me, it's very hard for us to communicate. We can't come together. See? Let's say I go into Thailand or I go into Colombia or whatever, right? And everyone is speaking their native tongue. I'm the only one coming in there speaking English. It's going to be tough for me. Now, if I run into somebody who speaks English, I'm going to be close to that person because I know, oh, I can communicate with someone at least. You see? So that's a bond builder right there. So yeah, the English language was created for them to actually bring about the so-called New World Order agenda. Okay? So continuing, going back to this, what chat is saying over here, right? It says a symbolic reference to ancient Rome, but America is the reincarnation of Rome. So whatever Rome was doing back there is back here again in America. Look at the Senate. Look at the presidents. Look at the infrastructure of DC. Look at how everything is. Look at the laws. Jurisprudence is all in Latin. Okay? It says, or more broadly, a symbol of any corrupt world system built on power, wealth, and exploitation. That is pinpoint America, man. Okay? And your president is exposing America for who she is, fulfilling biblical prophecy. All right? You get up and say, oh, we're gonna take Greenland. Cuba's next. We're gonna go get Cuba. Right? That's again, they're showing you whose look was more stout than his fellows, man. Who embodies that spirit? The American Edomite. Okay? The American Edomite thinks he's better than every other person on the face of the earth. Look at how Trump behaved himself when so-called King Charles came over here, right? Nigga, Trump is like, I'm like, dude, this nigga has no type of decorum. You're hosting somebody who's considered or highly regarded in your world, okay? Because we don't regard these niggas as nothing. They're Edomites getting ready to serve their time. So let them live it up, right? King Charles, whatever, I call him Boy Charles. He ain't shit. All these Edomites, they ain't shit. Okay, they're all going to destroy all of them. They ain't shit. They all going to serve their time in slavery. They're nothing. Okay, they're nothing. But even in their world, that they got the titles of king and lord and all this dumb shit. All right, peasants that call themselves, kings and lords, right? Even in that setting, look at how Trump was behaving, bro. He's walking in front of them. He's shaking people's hands. He's not even being courteous that he has a guest here. See? Very pompous, very rude, very proud. Okay? Let me go first. Let me get the spotlight. I'm Trump. I'm him. Let me, you know what I'm saying? This nigga here, man. All right? And you had King Charles looking at them, standing back, stopping back. He's like, man, this nigga here is like uncouth. Oh my goodness. But that's a depiction of America itself. Okay? Look at Hegseth. I keep bringing that nigga up because he's very disliked. Even when in Congress, okay? They brought him up on the podium and he's testifying in Congress. And what's going on there? This nigga I'm like, dude, you're so not qualified, man. They have to put a fucking pocket square in his little pocket over there with the American flag to make it look like he on some good timings. And then you look at the next guy next to him, what's his name? Secretary Dan Raising Cane or whatever his name is, right? He got all these medals on his pocket. And Hegseth, who's supposed to be above Dan Kane, he got just a nice little pocket square right in the pocket. No medals, nothing. But he has the loudest mouth and he talks the most shit. He would never step up in front of a real man though. He gonna do all that shit talking behind closed doors and behind you're spinning it and you're doing this and you keep spinning and the hatred that you have for Trump. Nigga, when you was on Fox News, was you not talking shit about Trump? All you fucking hypocrites in the fucking government, man. Marco Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard, whatever the fuck her name is. All these people were talking against Trump back when he was running the first time in 2016, man. You fast forward 10 years later, they all sold out, all right, and they're all back in this punk, okay? And they're leading America down the road to hell, straight up, man. I seen gas price today. I'm like, yo, gas price is going up OD right now. What's going on? So I asked the guy, I said, yo, my man, I swung by here this morning. It was like 417. I come back this afternoon. It's 430. Was it 438 or something like that? So I'm like, yo, bro, what the fuck? Like, by next week, this shit gonna be at 7 with the rate. Y'all niggas is going. He started laughing. He's like, yo, man, I don't know, man. Like, it's been crazy today. It's Friday. It's May 1st. So if this is what May is coming with, then hey, it's here. Prepare. All right, but this is all part of the decline of America, man, as you know it. Okay? Rome is done. Rome is over with. This is biblical prophecy. Rome is already past. This is history. We can go back into Rome in the historic aspect. We can't go back to Rome in a prophetic aspect. Or we can go back to Rome as in its its modern day sense being America. Okay, and there are things that's to happen to the second leg of the Roman Empire, which is America. That's biblical prophecy. Okay, and America is not going to escape it. Your days are numbered. Okay, you have been weighed in a balance and you have been found wanting, man. All right. It says, in other words, the passage is usually read as timeless, applying to empires or systems throughout history, not a coded prediction about one modern nation. And that's wrong. Chat, you got that wrong. Okay. Now, let me get a little bit more. Okay, let's go a little bit specific here. All right. Using Revelation 18, depict how America fits the judgments. Okay. And it says here, if you read Revelation 18 through the lens that Babylon represents a modern superpower, it's possible to map the imagery onto the United States. Duh. Chat, come on now. Right? But it's important to keep in mind that that this is an interpretive framework, not something the text directly states. We know that. We know that, but we want to know the interpretation of it. What is the interpretation thereof, right? It says Babylon as a global economic powerhouse. Revelation 18 repeatedly emphasizes wealth, trade, and international commerce. The merchants of the earth grew rich from her luxury, and that's in Revelation 18. Let's get it, verse 3. This is a book of Revelation chapter 18, verse 3. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Okay, so America making deals with America. Why do you think all these countries come from different parts of the world to come and do business here in America? Why do you think there are so many different nations upon the face of the earth, and you can find each and every nation under heaven here in America? But you're not going to find that all around the world. There are certain places around the world where you're not going to find Indians over there, or you're not going to find Germans over there. But you come to America, you're going to find Indians, you're going to find Germans, you're going to have people from France, you're going to have everywhere upon the face of the earth. Every single country that's upon the face of the earth has someone from there here in America. You're going to find that here. Okay? So this is like the what they call the melting pot, where you bring in all these different cultures and then they all come in together one pot. But guess what? America is going to be that melted pot. All right? She's going to be melted after the Lord is done with this place. All right? So it says the merchants of the earth grew rich from her luxury. Right? Because they came in here to do business. America is predominantly a consumer-based company or economy. Okay? Not so much production, but more consumer. So people from different countries bring their things over here, their merchandise over here via cargo. All right. And then they sell it and make money in the dollar, and then they go back. Right. Look at all these 7-Elevens. Who owns the 7-Elevens? Right. They've created their own empire out here. Okay. It says long list of goods. You got gold, silver, fine clothing, spices, even human souls, man, souls of men. Right. And that goes to that is found in Revelation 18 and verse 11. It says, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise anymore. Well, because once she's destroyed, you can't do no business with America. Ain't no more data centers, right? Ain't no more, oh, we're going to sell wigs, right? We're going to sell alcohol. We're going to sell olive oil. Nope. Every time you pick up something, made in China, made in Indonesia, made in Japan, made in Italy, made in France, made in Africa, made in wherever. They all made something somewhere, brought it over here, made money off of you. Okay? And they're going to be mad that they're not going to be doing that no more, because what country can we take our products to and make money like we did with America? It ain't going to be no country like that no more. Not China, not Russia, none of them. None of them. Okay? It says the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. When you add it all together, what country pushes the most trafficking? Human trafficking. It's right here in America, Babylon the Great. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry right here. Okay? Slaves and souls of men. What country predominantly is known for the transatlantic slave trade? Right here in America, Babylon the Great. It ain't Russia. It ain't China. It ain't, but Europeans. Europeans, what land did they choose to do all that slavery shit? Right here in America, Babylon the Great. Okay? It wasn't ancient Rome. The Lord ain't take us into Rome on ships. No. Right here in America is where that prophecy took place. And no, it did not happen to the Jays. They were never brought here in America on cargo slave ships to serve slavery. That prophecy never happened to them. In Deuteronomy 28 and 68, it happened to us. Okay? Our ancestors, our forefathers. And the Lord is finally waking us up. Okay? So it says, applied to America, the U.S. is seen as a central hub of global finance and consumption. We just said that. Right? A driver of international trade and markets. A culture associated with consumerism and luxury exports. Okay? So interpreters say Babylon's economic dominance equals America's global economic role. And that's true. Number 2, influence over the kings of the earth. When you read Revelation 18 and 3, let's get that again because that's what we started off with. We're bringing that back. Revelation 18 and 3 says, for all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Let's get a little bit more on that. It says, influence over kings of the earth. The kings of the earth committed adultery with her, which in Revelation it says fornication, right? When applied to America, this is taken to mean political alliances and influence over other nations, which is true. Cultural and ideological export, media, values, policy, pressure, and so on and so forth, right? When you look at the political alliances, these like NATO, for example, NATO is a political alliance / military alliance, right? But it's mostly the military part comes after the political part, right? Because it's through political means that you end up with military means, right? Then you have the cultural and ideological export through the media. America influences the minds of the people around the world through media, through music, through movies, shows, books, and so on and so forth. Okay? It says the metaphor of adultery / fornication is often read as compromise or dependency on that power. And that's true. Okay? How many countries before America's inception were actually democratic republic or democratic countries that believed in democracy? Not that many. But after America's inception and her power over the earth, democracy became a thing. Most countries have so-called democracies. You go to Africa, right? They have a voting system. They vote every 4 years and so on and so forth. That shit stems from America's ways of doing things. Okay? The third point, moral corruption and excess. Okay, when you read Revelation 18 and 7, it says, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right? That's Isaiah 47. Okay? That's Nahum, I think. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Right? The well-favored harlot. Let me see. I believe it's in the book of Nahum. Yep. The book of Nahum, chapter 3, start off at verse 1. It says, woe to that bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. The noise of a whip and the noise of the rattling of the wheels, of the prancing horses, and of the jumping chariots. The horseman lifteth up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain, and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses. Key point. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts. That's America. Okay? Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, Isaiah 47, and I will shew the nations thy wickedness, or nakedness, Salakia, same thing, and the kingdoms thy shame. I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and will set thee as a gazing stock. That's exactly what's going on with America right now. Okay? And it shall come to pass that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee, and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Nineveh is another code name for America. Who will bemoan her? When shall I seek comforters for her? For thee. Okay, now remember, this is actually talking about literal Nineveh during that time, but prophetically it's talking about America, Babylon the Great. Okay, so now let's go back to Revelation 18. Let's see. Revelation 18 and verse 7, right? The key point is that so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow, right? And that's, again, that's reiterated in what we just read in Nahum, the 3rd chapter, but also in Isaiah 47, where it says, I shall see no loss of children. Let's see if I can get that. Isaiah 47. Right here. Isaiah 47 and verse 7, it says, And thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. And we are at the latter end of it, man. From 1776 to 2026, we are at the latter end of this bitch. Okay? Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, right? That dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me, I shall now sit as a widow, neither shall I know, right? Neither shall I know the loss of children. You're not going to sit as a widow. You're not going to see the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. And that all happens within 1 hour. Okay? Within 1 hour. It says, For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, None seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Okay? So thy wisdom and thy knowledge, going into the sciences, has perverted thee. When you go into the concept of being perverted, that means being taken away, your mind being taken away from righteous deeds. Okay? In other words, conjuring up wickedness. You have secret societies and so on and so forth. The Apostle Paul mentions the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Who's that talking about? So continue going back to Revelation 18. What chat was talking about, the third point, moral corruption and excess, right? It says, Babylon is portrayed as proud, indulgent, and self-secure, right? I sit as a queen, right? I shall see no loss of children, right? All these different things. None else beside me, right? We're the greatest country on earth. We're the most powerful country on earth. We can do anything we want and nobody can do anything about it. That's the attitude of America and Americans, man. Okay? And you can't tell me, oh, that's not true. We're fighting for our freedoms. Freedoms from who? Freedoms from what? Huh? Freedoms from who? Freedoms from what? Applied to America, some see parallels in national confidence or perceived exceptionalism. That's all the pride of America, right? The few, the proud, the marines, right? You got the ego. That's all signs of pride, man. Okay? Thou that dwellest in the rocks, right? Your habitation is high. You fly as high as the eagle. Okay? That's all spiritual talk, parables describing America. Okay? It says cultural trends viewed as morally declining or indulgent. That's exactly what you see in America. Okay? Men and men could be together, right? Children can switch their cut off their rod, turn into a sheath. You know what I'm saying? All kinds of different shit that America pushes, man. Okay? And now they're pushing into straight up Satanism and witchcraft, outright with it. Okay? Complete demoral, degenerate society, man. That's why the Lord is going to destroy this place. And if you're a so-called Christian and you want this place to keep on going, guess what? You got a missile with your name on it, nigga. All right? It says wealth disparity and excess. That's America for you. Okay? You got all this money, billions of dollars. These niggas, Hexeth and them, Pete Punk Bitch Hexeth, PPBH. Yep. He popped up talking about they want 1.3 trillion or something like that, 1.5 trillion or something like that. And Congress is like, yo, listen, this shit has to be justified, bruh. Y'all niggas need to make sense out of this. Because when you combine all the global powers, their military budget, America is like 3 times, 4 times the size of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, this shit, I forget who in Congress said that, but he said when you add up all the world's military's budget, it doesn't equal America's. Like, that's insane, bro. What the fuck is going on here? Why so much money? You know, y'all niggas went from 200 something billion to now y'all want 1 point something trillion dollars. Why? Fourth point, sudden and catastrophic fall. In 1 hour, your doom has come. Repeated emphasis on rapid collapse. Okay? Applied to America, this is interpreted as a potential swift economic crash, war, and/or internal collapse. That's exactly what you're seeing right now. Okay? The downfall of America, Babylon the Great. The idea that even a superpower can fall quickly despite seeming stability. That's what you're seeing here in America. Okay? We got these data centers. You're going to be winning so much. You're never going to, you're going to be so tired of winning. But yet, meanwhile, she's seemingly quickly destabilizing. Okay? The fifth point, global shock and mourning. Merchants, shipmasters, and kings weep because trade stops. Applied to America, since much of the world economy is tied to the US and the US dollar, interpreters argue the US collapse will trigger a global economic grief and disruption. Supply chains, markets, and currencies would be affected worldwide. And they've said that. Okay, they've said that. Remember, in order for the New World Order to work, they have to destroy America as it is today. Okay, they have to destroy it as it is today. All right, and then rebuild it into their own way, their own image, and then control the world through that new image that America is going to be pushing down upon the face of the earth. But how long is that going to live for? When the scripture is telling you that America is going to be destroyed within 1 hour, how long, how much time do you think these devils are going to have to fully flesh out their plans? It's not going to work, man. All right, it's not going to work because the joy of the hypocrite, all right, is but for a moment. All right. The 6th point, final destruction imagery. Babylon is destroyed by fire and becomes desolate. Point blank, period. How does this apply to America? Military destruction. Even speculating about nuclear war. And America will end up in nuclear war and she'll be destroyed. You got the likes of Russia, the likes of China, and all these other countries that possess intercontinental ballistic missiles. And not to forget what the Lord is going to be doing when he also returns with the thousands of heaven. Okay? Concentrated fire and energy. You damn well could say way more powerful than even what the missiles can do. Okay? So you got something to worry about right there with that. Okay? It says or symbolic of complete systemic collapse. That's not symbolic. America will engage in complete systemic collapse. You're seeing that right now. The collapse is happening right now, man. All right? Gas price is not just going up because of what's going on in the Straits of Hormuz, but also everything else has increased. That's because the value of the money is going down. And every time you see that happening, that's a sign of a collapse of the system itself. Because if your currency is starting to decrease in value, that means your system itself is decreasing in value. Currency is what gets everything going. That's the current of the society. When the money is bad, everything goes bad. Okay? So it says, this reading depends on a few big assumptions. That Babylon is meant to point to a future nation, not just a first century context. Well, that future nation is America. Okay? And she in that future, when she's really at her end, 250 years, ain't no future about that. She ain't got no future besides destruction. Okay? That prophetic imagery should be applied geopolitically and specifically America. That parallels, wealth, influence, etc. are intended in identifications, not general patterns. That's right. Okay? Because not the whole world is going through that. It's only one nation, one country upon the face of the earth that fits all of these things. And that's America. Okay? This part I'm not going to read. They talk about what scholars are saying, arguing the point. I don't want to hear what scholars have to say. All right? Let's see here. It says, bottom line, you can line up Revelation 18's judgments with characteristics of the United States: economic dominance, global influence, luxury, and potential. I don't know what it says there. But That's an interpretive overlay, not a direct identification in the text. You can say whatever you want, chat. Guess what? We got the truth. Okay, and America is Babylon the Great. Whether you want to say it's literal or figurative or whatever, America is Babylon the Great, and she will be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. That's the judgment the Lord has pronounced, and that's going to happen. Just be happy that we warned you before it came. Okay? That's what's coming. America will be completely destroyed. There's no two ways about it. All right? And I through the Spirit, I want to emphasize that even more. America will be destroyed completely. Okay? Let me see here. So many things you've done, you're not going to get away with it. Revelation 18 and 24. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Okay? When Hexeth goes around saying no quarter, no mercy, all this extra shit, just literally just indicting himself, just self-incriminating the fuck out of himself, going against the whole Geneva Convention and all that. Okay? Straight war crimes, and he just out there just saying it proudly too, like, yeah, I believe this is the right thing to do, and I'm gonna keep serving my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I have the right to do these things. Hexeth, PBBH, your days are numbered, buddy, and you got some real intense questions that you're gonna be facing very soon. Okay, you got nowhere to hide. You know what I'm saying, boy? You got nowhere to hide, my nigga. So get ready. Your day's coming. And I know for a fact, Lord willing, I'm going to see you ass soon. I'm going to see you soon, bitch. All right? P. Hexeth, your days are numbered. Okay? We get this last precept here, and we're going to close it out. Let's get this real quick here. I think Revelation 18. Where did I stop off at? I want to get right here. Verse 20. All right, this is a good part. Revelation chapter 18, verse 20 says, Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. Okay, that's what we're waiting for. Once the Lord says that judgment upon this place, we will be avenged. All right, we can't take vengeance in our own hands. It's a 250-year plan. We're not going to disrupt it in just one day. Of course, we could do it with the word, which we've done. But physically, for this place to be taken out, it's going to be done by fire. And the Lord is going to get all that glory, all that credit. Okay? It says verse 21, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, right? That's heavy, man. That's so heavy. And cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Okay? So with violence, America is going to be destroyed, man. Ain't going to be no way around it. You're not going to get to go into a different country, blow shit up, destroy the whole entire earth, and then come back into your land and be peaceful. What the hell did Zelensky say to Trump last year? He said, yo, you got seas, you got shining seas, you got beaches, you got nice places. So in your mind, you don't think this destructive things that was going on in Europe is going to come over here. And what did Trump say? You're not going to tell us what to feel and all this. Guess what? Your days are numbered. America's days are numbered. Okay? America's days are numbered. Last one. Let's see. Right here. Just like ancient Babylon, modern day Babylon, which is America, will be destroyed. Let's read. This is the book of Daniel chapter 5, verse 24. Then was a part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. And before I continue, I remember that was a few years ago. This was probably before the CV. There were some so-called NASA space people. It might be CERN, it might be NASA, one of them. And they said that they heard certain sounds from outer space coming closer to the earth, and they interpreted certain language. They called it was like, oh, it's hieroglyphs or something. That's what they said, right? And within that, there was one word. I believe it was either Mene or Tekel, one of them. And they were like, oh shit, like this is pretty much like Daniel the 5th chapter about, Belshazzar and ancient Babylon and so on and so forth, Neo-Babylonian Empire and so on and so forth. And I believe, this was not too long, but I was like, yo man, these devils really, the Lord is communicating with you and showing you things that's to come to you, and you're shook. And you're trying everything in your power to change the outcome of biblical end time prophecy. I forget exactly, is it Operation Looking Glass or something that they had, where they were trying everything in their power to change the outcome of the pronounced prophecy and the judgment that's going to befall America, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it because there is no other way but this way. America's destruction. Point blank, period. There's no other way. The script is written, and that's how it's going to play out. All right. So it says here, this is the interpretation. Oh, let me bring it back. And this, Daniel 5:25, it says, and this is the writing that was written, mini tikel upharsin. Right? It says, this is the interpretation of the thing. Mini, the Most High hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Okay, and they had a god, all right, that they used to worship called Mini, right? The god of numbers, okay, fortune, and so on and so forth, right? Tikel, thou art weighed in the balance and are found wanting. That's what's going on with America right now. Okay, Perez / Upharsin, which is thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Okay, so now that was again going back to the time of the Neo-Babylonian Empire during the time of Belshazzar, but this time it's talking about America. Okay, you can use it, all right, to represent America in the sense of the same judgment. Okay, you've been weighed in the balance, you've been found wanting, all right, your kingdom is divided. Okay, what you see right now, you got the Republicans, you got the Democrats, all this extra shit, but there is no uniform, there's no unity. Okay, the whole entire landscape is all fractured in every single way you look at it. Men versus women, children versus adults, children versus children, nation versus nation, kingdom versus kingdom, race versus race, and all. You got political affiliation versus it's just a division all across the board. And what did our Lord say? A kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. Okay? That means there will be an inevitable civil war. Okay? And with that, you're going to see bloodshed. You're going to see a lot of changes that's going to happen. And through that chaos, they're going to bring in that order. But that order is going to be very short-lived. Very, very short-lived. Okay? But anyway, I'm ended off there lowly edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Brach HaKodash, the Wadi Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and until next time, Shalom.